I'd like to show you how to do some simple genetics practice problems, and then you can finish the worksheet on your own. First of all, for each genotype below, indicate whether it is homozygous or heterozygous. Well, here we have a capital letter, which represents a dominant gene, and a lowercase letter representing a recessive gene. Therefore, we have two different alleles. Different is described by heterozygous. Remember, heterosexual couples date a different sex, and these are two different genes. Therefore, this is heterozygous. Two capital B's are two of the same allele of this gene. Homosexual couples date the same sex. A homozygous genotype has the same gene, so this is homozygous. Then, two lowercase letters means that it's the same allele of the gene, therefore this is also homozygous. You finish the rest of these. For each of the genotypes below, determine which phenotypes would be possible. Remember, the genotypes are the letters, and the phenotype is the physical appearance. So, green pea pods are dominant to yellow pea pods. So, the letter G is used to represent green, and the same letter in the lowercase is used to represent yellow. You always go with the capital version of the dominant trait. Then give the lowercase version of the dominant trait to the recessive gene. So, green is dominant, yellow is recessive. So if we get two dominant genes, obviously it has to be green. If we get a dominant and a recessive gene, remember that the dominant one covers up the recessive one, it blocks it. So only the dominant gene is seen, which means the plant is green. But it could pass on a green or a yellow gene. Then, when there are two recessive genes, there is no dominant gene, therefore finally that gene for the yellow pea pods is finally seen, and the pea pods will be yellow. You try number 3, 4, and 5. For each phenotype below, phenotype, physical trait, list the genotypes, the letters, and remember to use the letter of the dominant trait. So in chickens, black feathers are dominant to red feathers. So we want to use a capital B for black. We'll use the same letter in lowercase for the recessive gene. So a lowercase b represents red. There are two combinations that will result in black feathers, both capital, one capital and one lower, and finally, if you're going to have a red feather, they must both be the recessive trait. You try 7, 8, and 9. Now we're going to set up our own punnett squares and predict what percentage of the offspring will be each color. Purple flowers are dominant to white flowers in pea plants. So we're going to choose a capital P for purple and a lowercase p for white. Because the capital and lowercase look so similar, I'm going to have to exaggerate the capital and the lowercase to be sure I can tell the difference when I write them. Otherwise, I'm going to get all confused because I didn't write them clearly enough. We are going to cross two hybrid plants. Each plant has both a purple and a white gene. Yes, each of these will have purple flowers, but let's see how the kids come out. So first you will want to draw a punnett square. Then you'll put the parent plants across the top and down the side. Traditionally, the father goes on top and the mother goes down the side. Obviously, these are plants, so it doesn't matter which one goes where. you'll still get the same answer no matter where you put the parents. So put one letter over each column. So we have a capital and a lower. It could either pass on a capital or it could pass on a lowercase. Remember to exaggerate the size of those letter P's. Then this one could either pass on a capital or pass on a lowercase. All right, now we fill in the chart. If we pass on two capital letters, all right, then the baby plant will have both capital. Or we could say, all right, it'll pass on the capital and it will pass on the lowercase. That will be hybrid. It will pass on, by the way, always put capitals first and lowercase second. So even if you do this, oh yeah, gotta write the capital P first and the lowercase p second. And finally, we can have two lowercase p's. Okay, remember, the capital P's are dominant, so this will be purple. The hybrids, the dominant trait will show, so these will also be purple. And this will be white, because it only has the recessive gene. Therefore, 3 out of 4 plants will be purple, and 1 out of 4 plants will be white, meaning we will have 25% white plants. If you're not good at converting fractions to percents, just think about quarters. You have 4 quarters in a dollar. So if you have 1 quarter, you have 25 cents, 25%. If you have 2 quarters, you have 50 cents, 50%. 3 would be 75%, and all 4 would be 100%. So hopefully that will help you remember how to convert fractions to percent. Let's do another problem. Draw your punnett square. You must draw the punnett square in order to get credit on these. We have, the first plant has a capital and a lower. Capital over one column, lower over the other column. Then we have 2 lowers. A lowercase over one column, lowercase over the other. Now we cross them. We take this capital and we write it here, and then if you want you can come down here because that capital will go in both of these columns. There's no more capitals, make sure you write those first. So now we're going to do the lowercase, and it doesn't matter if you write the lowercase first or second if there's not a capital. Now we take this one and it'll go for both of these, so lowercase p, and this one will go for both of these, lowercase, lowercase. So out of the offspring, we have a capital lower and a capital lower. These are both hybrids, but they will appear purple because the dominant gene wins. Then these 2 have all recessive genes, so they will be white. So we have 2 quarters are purple, 2 quarters are white. Oh, so we have 50% white offspring. Pretty cool, huh? You try number 12, 13, and 14. Go ahead and pause the video. So now we're going to do more practice with different traits. A plant with round seeds, both dominant round trait, is crossed with a plant with wrinkled seeds using the same lowercase letter. So I'm going to write a capital R over round and a lowercase r over wrinkled just so I keep myself straightened out. You don't have to show this unless you need to. What percentage of the offspring will have round seeds? I can't do that in my head. I need a punnett square. Punnett square is capitalized because Mr. Punnett is the one who figured them out, and it's actually a last name. So, 2 capitals, so put 1 over this column, 1 over this column. Separate the gametes, separate the alleles that are being passed on. Then we have wrinkled seeds, which means since it's recessive, they both have to be lowercase. Oh, thank goodness, we don't have to worry about writing exaggerated sizes so we can tell the difference. Now cross the two plants. So remember, always write capitals first. So this capital will go here and here, and this capital will go here and here. Then write your lowercases. This lowercase will go here, this lowercase will go here. So lowercase and lowercase. Whoa, every one of these turned out the same, and every one is hybrid. A hybrid plant will have the dominant trait as its phenotype. The trait that is expressed, the physical trait, is the phenotype. The genotype are the letters. They are asking about the phenotype of the round seeds. All the seeds will be round because the dominant trait masks or hides the recessive trait. Therefore, 100% of the plants will have round seeds. Although, these plants could then have future plants that might have wrinkled seeds. You try number 16. I believe you'll be able to get it. Just remember that purple is dominant to white. A heterozygous short-haired cat is crossed with a homozygous long-haired cat. Well, which one's dominant and which one's recessive? Well, we have a dominant and a recessive, so this one is showing the dominant trait. It is short-haired, so short-haired must be dominant. Write a capital S. Long-haired has both lowercase. It must be recessive. So long-haired must be the lowercase s. Notice how I'm exaggerating the sizes so I know which is dominant and which is recessive. Plus, remember that the dominant trait is the letter you use. So even though long-haired has an L, we're not using the L. We're using the lowercase s for short-haired, which is dominant. Then, what percentage of the offspring are heterozygous? Do your cross. When you finish your cross, they didn't ask what percent are short or long-haired. They asked what percent are heterozygous. Hetero means two different things. So which have two different genes? Aha, this one and this one. They both have a short-haired gene and a long-haired gene, a dominant and a recessive gene. Therefore, 2 out of the 4 are heterozygous, which is 50%, which happens to be the same answer as how many are short-haired. However, it didn't necessarily have to be that way. So be careful and make sure you're answering the question they're asking, not the question you got used to. I believe you'll be able to do 18 and 19 on your own. Go ahead and pause this video and finish up this side of the paper. Let's do number 21 together, then you'll be able to go backwards and do number 20. Now we're going to have a question that does not give you the alleles. You will have to figure those out yourself. So a person without dimples, no dimples is a recessive trait, has a child with a person who is heterozygous, 2 different genes, 4 dimples. Okay, so if without dimples is recessive, dimples must be dominant. Then, since it is the dominant trait, we're going to take a capital D. That will represent having dimples. Not having dimples is recessive. We're going to use a lowercase d. All right, a person without dimples. Wait, they forgot to tell us if it was homozygous or heterozygous. That's okay. It's the recessive trait. The only way you can have a recessive trait is for both of the alleles to be recessive. So this person must be lowercase d, lowercase d. Then they have a child with a person who is heterozygous, 2 different letters, 4 dimples. So they must have a capital and a lowercase. Now you can do the chart and finish the problem. Then you can go backwards and do question number 20. Finally, number 24 may seem rather confusing when you first look at it. If that's true, go back through your punnett squares and find something where 1/4 of them have one characteristic and 3/4 of the seedlings have the other characteristic. Then that will help you figure out the genotypes of the parent plants in this case. 25% are short. That must be the recessive trait. Hopefully that will help you answer this question.